I love coming to Miami. I make sure I come every year, and I hope you guys do too. This is a great conference. I just want to thank Mo for the awesome job he did here. I also want to thank Paul Puey from Edge, who graciously allowed me to switch time slots with him. So I am not Paul, I'm Brian. I thought this morning that maybe we'd, keep it a little bit light, since I know that, people were out last night, like Mo mentioned, and every time I come to Miami, I always try to find something fun to do because it's such a great city. And I'm here this time with my wife, and I said, "Hey, where do you want to go? Do you want to do something fun?" And she said, "I want to go to Mangoes." I'm like, "Fuck, okay, we can go anywhere you want, but Mangoes?" And wait, don't judge. I see some of you guys have some regretful faces in the audience here too. So it seems like you went to Mangoes as well. But anyway. So I run a company called OB1. Yes, it is an homage to Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. It also stands for the first company built on top of OpenBazaar. And so last year I was here talking about OpenBazaar and what it is. This year I'd like to talk a little bit about OB1 and why the company exists and kind of some of the things that we've learned over the last few years. So just real quick, OpenBazaar is a peer-to-peer marketplace, completely decentralized, censorship resistant, completely anonymous if you want it to be. Uses Bitcoin right now, and we're getting ready to roll out Bitcoin Cash and Zcash, along with some other coins eventually. So you can use that to buy and sell goods anywhere in the world for absolutely free. So there's no fees involved. OB1 is a for-profit company that we built to accept venture capital funding and help kind of kickstart the network and build. So OpenBazaar started in 2014, so we're coming up on almost 4 years of being in existence, and OB1 was formed in 2015, so almost 3 years. So my talk today is building decentralized apps and living to tell about it. So OB1 is primarily a software development company. Right now, we're working on OpenBazaar, the desktop application, which you can get at openbazaar.org, completely open source. And we're also working on OB1 Mobile, which is a proprietary app, but it basically works on top of OpenBazaar network. It's going to be available for iOS and Android in the next few months. This quote's not an OB1 quote, it's a Yoda quote, but it's difficult to see, always in motion is the future. So in 2014, we kind of felt like this, like we were new to the crypto space, everything was exciting, so much promise. This year, with the price up, we feel like fucking Jedis, badasses. It's feeling really good. Someday, this may happen, we may be dead ghosts talking to the tokens that come after Bitcoin, but we're not quite there yet. We don't know when that may happen, right? But for now, this is where we're at. These are some of the lessons that we've kind of, and observations that I've learned over the last few years. The first one is, so this scene is from Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan, he is being carried unconscious by Anakin. When he wakes up, he's like hanging in an elevator shaft, and he's like, did I miss something? And Anakin's just like, just hold on, we're kind of in a predicament. Now, working in crypto is a lot like this. The concept of holding is like a very strong meme within the community. Trying to encourage people that, even when things are kind of crazy, that you hold on, you push through it, you persevere. It's very important when you're running these open source projects and you want to succeed, you have to keep holding on and pushing forward. And so that's one concept that everybody is always trying to reinforce, and it's something that's kept our community together over the last few years. Another big one, communications, right? So here, Obi-Wan is all chained up, and he's waiting for Anakin to show up, and he finally does, and he's like, I forgot, I was wondering if you actually got my message. So in the open source community, everybody's volunteering, right? So getting them to do things, getting them to reply in a timely fashion, doing all these things, it's very hard. You work at their pace, not yours. So communication is super challenging. And that even goes down to the protocol level. So, we've been building the peer-to-peer networking layer for a long time. And just being able to coordinate technical messages between peers and nodes across disparate networks globally, like bad internet connections, really restrictive firewalls, et cetera. Messaging is a really, really tough problem, and most projects have these issues. But this is an area that you have to be able to deal with. So in this scene, OB1 is steering a ship, and it's basically broken completely in half, and he's still flying it, and they're looking at him like he's insane, and he's like, but don't worry, we still have half of a ship left. This is like the typical, like, we're building the airplane as we're flying it idea. So I think there are a lot of times when we get caught up as founders or builders where everything, like the shit has hit the fan and everything is blowing up. But you know what? In the end, you got to take the pieces of the project and the software that you have working and move forward with it, and try to do what you can with what you got. And this is something that's always happening in crypto. Here's another fun one. One that we learned this year. So this year was kind of the rise of altcoins and alternatives to Bitcoin. In this scene, Jar Jar Binks shows up, and Obi-Wan's basically like, who the hell is this guy? And he's like, oh, he's just like this local. And he's like really annoying. Now, I'm not saying altcoins are annoying, but as a piece of software that's like primarily built on top of Bitcoin, and you have every single token and coin in the planet sending emails constantly telling you to accept them, it's a lot like this. It's like, who are these people? But in the end, they can be helpful. You have to be open-minded. You have to think about what's really going to make your project or your idea succeed. It's not always going to be Bitcoin or Dash or this or that. Sometimes it's a bunch. Sometimes it's one specific one that helps you solve your problems. So while people that are new to this space may come in unknowledgeable or overexcited or even come off annoying, it's good to always be flexible in your approach. This is another fun one that happened this year. Now we have like a ton of crypto millionaires, people walking around confidence, bravado is at a high. People starting, like how many people here have a crypto hedge fund? Okay, so everybody, right? Everybody. Yeah, so I think it's important to be confident about what you're doing, but don't ever lose sight of the reason why we're here. So Open Bazaar was built with the idea of creating a free trade system, a free marketplace for everyone to use. It wasn't a way for us to get rich. It wasn't a way for us to become millionaires. In fact, we've had over 500,000 people use the software, and we haven't made a single dime from that. It's literally in the user's hands. Because the core principle behind it is that there is no middleman. There is nobody taking a fee. There's no eBay, there's no Amazon that's sitting in the middle and charging you rent. Yep, thank you. Yeah. And it's a very key fundamental principle that we follow. This is another big one that we've had to deal with over the years, right? Anakin tells him, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, right? This is about pragmatism. This is about realizing that even though you believe in Bitcoin maybe, and that's, you're a maximalist in that respect, that there are reasons why other things exist. I mean, I personally find a lot of really exciting ideas happening in other platforms, right? With Monero and its privacy, looking at Zcash for the same reason, or Bitcoin Cash for lower fees. I mean, there's all kinds of different reasons why you may want to use these things. So, these projects don't have to be your enemy. We can all work together, and that's the way we're going to build a stronger community. And obviously, it is happening. I mean, look around. You don't need to see his identification, right? So how do we build platforms that actually work and that are trustworthy, and yet you don't know who you're dealing with? Like Bitcoin, one of the best traits about Bitcoin was that you don't have to trust the other person, right? Like you don't have to know who they are. You don't have to have their social security number and their financial history in order to do business with them. But in a marketplace, that's an even bigger challenge, because How do you know you're ever going to receive the product that you purchased? How do you know that they're going to provide the service that they sold you? In Open Bazaar, we use a sort of an escrow system using multi-signature transactions. But that still doesn't get around all of the problems. I mean, just this year we had a very interesting person on the platform who basically entirely spoofed a business, made their profile on Open Bazaar look exactly like a real legit business, and try to scam people. This happens. There are people out in the world that are trying to hurt you, and we have to be able to build decentralized identity systems, build trust mechanisms, ways to prevent collusion between vendors and buyers and moderators, which is what we call our dispute resolution people. These are problems that are still unsolved. There's no perfect solution, but the research is coming along, and I think some of these other platforms are building some really compelling ways to get around that. But the principle of being able to support privacy and anonymity is also a very, very important thing, especially in marketplaces. Bad actors. So it's a censorship-resistant marketplace, completely anonymous, uses Bitcoin. Yes, there are bad actors on the platform. There are people that they sell death sticks on the platform. But, they do that with cash. They do that with other, platforms. In fact, Craigslist and Amazon all have their own problems with these things. But it's how do you deal with them? How do you give the users the tools in order to protect themselves? We can't prevent people from doing bad things. We can only help the community control these. And, we build things like filters or block lists, things like that give the user the control of censorship from their perspective. We don't use a heavy-handed approach as a marketplace and just remove things. We let the users decide, right? It's power for the people, not for the platform. Politics. Everybody's fun topic. And just like OB1, I like to sit back and let everybody else do the politics. Although it is very enticing, and if you follow my Twitter feed, you know that I can't ever resist getting into a really bad argument with people that I shouldn't do. But politics is something that's at the local level too. It can be office team politics that you have to work through. Our team is like a pretty diverse and opinionated group. We've had many arguments over which coins to accept, which ones are good, which ones are bad, who are the bad people in the space, blah, blah, blah. And then also going to conferences like this and having spirited debates with people about certain things. We saw this really, really manifested in the SegWit and block size debate in Bitcoin. And I think it's something that we have to be very, very, we have to listen more. We have to respect people. I think that there's a big lack of that in our community. And if you're new to the space, I think you have a really great opportunity to try and encourage people to, be nicer to each other. There could be a lot of really, really horrible people in Bitcoin, but the majority are really great. It doesn't mean that they don't exist, and it doesn't mean that we don't have to deal with that problem. So, I think basically your project has to learn to be able to handle people that are going to try and tear you down. We've had it happen many times within Open Bazaar, and you have to understand what the motivations are behind why people participate in an open source project. What are they trying to get out of it? And you have to, if you're leading a project, you have to be able to guide and coax those people into, helping you realize your vision for the coin or for your token or whatever you're doing. I only got about a minute left, so I think this is the last slide. Oh, yeah, we'll just skip this one. Anyway, basically for success, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck, right? You may have hit up luck on a short-term trade or some other thing that happened in the space, but generally, success takes a long time to be realized. It's hard work. It's not something that happens overnight. And so there are a lot of really amazing people behind the projects that you are interested in that have been working for many, many years trying to make this stuff actually function properly. And so I think you have to give a little bit of appreciation to those groups because they're doing the things that no one wanted to do. And even though now we think that all these people are millionaires, they're probably not in a lot of cases. They've probably been spending their coins and using them and showing people that there's really true value for Bitcoin. So in closing, if you want to know more about what I do, you can go to ob1.io and find out about our company, or you can go to openbazaar.org and download the software. Go and buy or sell something from everybody on the platform, and join the community if you're interested as well. So thank you very much.